Sitaram, dear viewers, and welcome once again to the Hindu Perspectives, a program by the board of Swaha that is intended to bring elucidation, understanding about the various social issues we face and we see every day in our lives. And of course, the approach of the program is to use the grounding from our scriptures to bring some understanding. As is customary, we begin with an invocation prayer. So we ask you in your own way to place your hands together, close your eyes, and of course you concentrate on Sri Vignaharan, Sri Ganesh Devata. Om Vat Kritunna Mahakaya Surya Koti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurumi Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvara. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bole Shri Gajanan Swami Ki Jai. And once again, we have with us our senior Pandit, Pandit Gyani. So we say welcome to Panditji. And last week we began a discussion on one of the rituals in our way of life, which is a Vivaha Sanskar. And we went into some detail about the historical aspects of it. We looked at the legal part of it. And we had some interesting discussions on the Hindu Marriage Act. And then, of course, we looked at the Sanskar itself in terms of the format of the Sanskar and where that format would have came from. And we looked at what two main scriptures, one being Shiv Puran and the second Sri Ramacharita. And we saw in both instances the marriage of Bhagwan Shankar as well as Sri Ram and Sita Devi, where the meeting of a Bharat, the coming together of both families, and some aspects of the religious ceremony that we use until today. So that last week, those discussions went a little deep in this Hindu ceremony, and we did start to look at some of the social aspect, and most importantly, we were looking at the relevance of some of the aspects or some of the steps in a Hindu wedding as it relates to us in Trinidad and Tobago. One of the philosophy of Swaha is time, place, and circumstance. That some of these rituals would have been done in other parts of the world, India, etc., in villages, done for certain purposes. And today we would like to go in a little more into those things and understand a little bit about some of the steps in the ceremony. And in fact, if certain things are to be changed, what do we change? And what is the precedence for that? As well as some of the social realities that face us as a society, as Hindus, that will say that, some modification is needed as it relates to the Hindu ceremony. And Panditji, maybe throughout the course of the program, other sanskars will come up besides the Hindu ceremony. So that Panditji, at this point, I just gave a little recap and I just pass over to you to start the discussions for this evening.
Thank you, Panerji. Welcome to our viewers. Last week, when you closed the program, I asked that people should investigate and see the statement that the wife must take the left side of the husband, whether that has any grounding or what's the meaning of that really. The rightful place for the wife is on the left side of the husband. I said that is incorrect. I will explain that as we go along. But you normally start with verses from the Gita. And in the Gita, chapter 4, Krishna Bhagavan spoke about sacrifices. And he outlined that there are various forms of sacrifice. Some people sacrifice worshiping the gods. Some sacrifice by using their senses in the fires, or call it fire of senses, sacrifice these senses, that is. Some sacrifice through wisdom, and some sacrifice through the sacred texts. So marriage is a sacrifice, which entails all of these. When you're getting married, and that will come in more detail as we go along, it is a sacrifice which you make because we enter the grihasas from the second stage in life. You are going to sacrifice, and you use another word, compromise also, that as a householder, you have to sacrifice some things you do before. And many people have the opinion that your marriage life must be a different one. And so indeed it is. That when you are living with somebody, you can't live the same way as when you are single. Now, I'll just take it again because the Gita and also our ancient scriptures, we had the Vedas, the Rig, Sam, and Yajurved. Yajurved is instructive enough in chapter 8 of Yajurved, in one of the verses, verse 38, it warns husbands against the following. I just read English. The Sanskrit is long. He says, "O husband, I warn you against cohabitation with other men's wives. O husband, desist from approaching tender-hearted wives of others." And so it goes on about warning the husband about the company of other females. He said, "Do not have pride. O husband, who is full of virility, do not use that as a basis for having interrelations with other people's wives." So the Vedas, the Yajurveda explain this. And it says also in verse chapter 8, it warns us, chapter 8, verse 51, "O married people here, in your domestic life, what you need to do, accumulate wealth. We spoke about in this program, wealth accumulation, perform virtuous acts. The Krishna once said, perform sacrifices. Enjoy yourself, of course. Enjoy the company of your spouse and produce children. And also, this is something which is in the Vedas, which is thousands of years old. He said, give that child your milk, which is breastfeeding basically in Hinduism, in the Yajurveda. He said, and give riches and abundance with noble intentions, that is charity. So this Yajurveda speaks in detail about the married life. And this part of it from Yajurveda, with a whole chapter on chapter 8, he said, "O married man, if you desire prosperity, if you desire to be a master of gold and warriors and animals and so on, perform yajna with materials which strengthen the organs of the body and purify the world." And what Krishna Bhagavan said in that verse I read just now, where Krishna Bhagavan said different types of sacrifices in chapter 4. So the married life is one where we do all these sacrifices. I have been told to us, when a man is married, many people, you go in a yajna, you hear everybody speak about, they talk about the woman must not do anything wrong. But in the Yajurveda, it's warning the man. It says, Ekanadi Vrat. So when you're married, you settle to one woman. Ekanadi Vrat. You must settle with that woman you have chosen. You have chosen her. I don't think they put a gun to your head and tell her marry her. That is movie business. You don't real life here. You have chosen that one. And once you have made a choice, then live up to your word. Because you're going to the wedding, you'll see, I pass on to Panajishwar after, there is something called the vows. And last week, Panajayat raised that, the vows. You are given your vows. And your vows are to be loyal and sincere to that one you have chosen. So the Yajurveda warns the man, the husband, about this, that you should not have a running eye. The men believe it's a man's world, and this is why now why started, I said, over the years it has been perpetuated that the rightful place of a woman is on the right side, on the left side of the husband. The rightful place of a woman is on the left side of the husband. And I said that is wrong, not in reality, but in perspective. So what it says, the husband is here, and the wife must stay on the left side. So who is the center of the attraction here? Who is center here? Who is the focal point? The husband. And our scripture doesn't say that. What we say? Siya Ram, Radhe Krishna, Umapati. The woman is the central point. The woman. So what scriptures say, what the Vedas say, is that the woman is central point, and the man sits on the right side. And what it is? The same thing. The woman right side is she's on the left of the husband. But the difference is the focal point is not the man. The focal point is the woman. So the woman sits, and Hinduism, everything about the right side. So the woman sits, and the man sits on her right side. So the man sits on the right side. In essence, she sits on his left side. In essence, the man's left side is where the woman sits. I hope I'm not confusing nobody. The focal point is the woman. And the woman right side, the husband must be. So we have to stop saying that the rightful place of a woman is the left side of the husband. It is, in a sense, the same thing, but the focal point is different. Our scriptures do not focus on the man, it focuses on the woman daily. And I pass on to Panisher. It says, and we all know this, Devi is what started his whole creation. That Devi. And Devi is what starts everything. So the focus of attention, our focal point is not on the man, the male, but on the female, who is Devi. And remember this, the rightful place, the wife sits, and the rightful place of the husband is on her right side. And in a sense, the same thing. She's on the left side. So that is the first point we'd like to clarify, which I said last week. We have to stop making the man the focal point. The focal point of creation is the woman. And in science and biology, there is a fact, each one of us, when our fetus was formed, it was a female. Each one is female first, and based on X and Y chromosomes, which you call karma, you change to male or you remain a female. So marriage is a very scientific thing from scriptures, from the Vedas and from the Gita. And tell us all these beautiful things. And it warns the man. It warns the man how to keep our marriage successful. I'll go more into that and into the discussion. So I'll pass on the point, Ishwar. Paneji.
Sitaram, thank you, Panagandevji. And so he made a wonderful point there. We quite often hear that the woman is on the Dulahin takes a place on the left side. So we may say it's just a matter of semantics that the man is on the right, but the reference point being the female is of great significance. And if you look even in Sri Ramcharitmanas and you see the emphasis placed on the way in which, if we go to our mind, the way in which Sita Mata would have done her worship to Gauri Ma, to be wedded to Sri Ram, and the details that are given there, we understand how important the role of the woman is, how important the role of the Dulahin is, and the mother is. We say, Matri Devo Bhava. Pratam Guru Mata, the first Guru is our mother, is the mother. So that prime or prominence really has to be given to the mother and the female in the home. And in fact, a lot of the sanskars and a lot of the actual rituals done even in the Viva Sanskar stem from this fact and this belief that the female is at the center, right? And those who actually would witness the ceremony from beginning to end, you would often remark that, well, the girl side has a lot more to do than the boy side. There's a boy side wedding, so you have it easy. Girl side, you have it tough, you have it harder. And it isn't that it's harder meant to make it more difficult for the bride side of family, but it is because of that great reverence and respect that's accorded to the female in society. And this is an important point to bear in mind. And even when we were to look at the vows, I'm not sure, Panajeda, Panagani, if we could go straight into some of the vows as we discussed, right? Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
And as we move on, we'll see that the way in which even the vows are structured. Now we know there's a Saptapadi, there's a Dilawa Bhava, as we spoke about last week, walking around the fire, circumambulating the fire, or the Agni production as it is called. But there are certain, special vows, and you will see a lot of it centers around devotion, worship, and this is something that should not be ignored. So, like for instance, the first vow or the first condition rather that the Dulahin requests of the groom of the Dulaha is that if he has to do any sort of yagya or puja, attend a religious ceremony and so on, that her consent has to be obtained. So imagine, look at this from the very beginning, from the onset, as Paningande was saying, and he quoted the scriptures, he quoted the verse that says that the husband takes the position on the right side of the wife of the Dulahin. And here we are seeing that very first condition that the Dulaha or the husband has to take permission or get permission of the wife. And in today's society, quite often, we sometimes see different things happening where we feel that you can act unilaterally. And, we're speaking about family life and, social issues, marital problems that may come up from time to time that we as pundits have to deal with all the time. And you as righteous individuals perhaps will even have to advise those in your own family and friends and so on. Sometimes it is as simple as failure to communicate and get permission, not permission that you are subservient and you have to get permission from the female or from the wife. But the reality is, if you don't get that permission, what will happen? Dulahin, especially if it's a new Dulahin, just a few weeks or a few months, you're still in the honeymoon period, as we say, she will worry, unnecessarily worry about you. Where are you? What time you're coming back? All these different things could happen. So get permission. So this is extremely important. And then you see where the second condition is that if you have to do any pitriya gear, worship, that she should be able to join with you. And this is important. And it's in the marriage vows. And you know, this is something Pitrapaksh is coming up. After Ganesh Utsav, we have Pitrapaksh, which starts in around mid-September, 10 to 11th of September this year. And it is something that we have often heard. You hear that, okay, the female cannot take part. She can't take part in Pitrapaksh offerings. Here, even the marriage vows and Viva Sanskar, you are seeing where the wife has to take an integral part. An integral part doesn't only mean cooking the food and giving it to the man to take and put on the outside. She can sit and pray. Pray to that same Lord that we are going to be praying to in a couple of days' time, and even all now, Lord Krishna. You pray to Sri Krishna Bhagwan. So here we see the importance, significance of the wife and the Dulahin. How important. We said she is to be respected as Lakshmi Mata, just as the Dulaha is honored on that day as Vishnu Bhagwan or Ram and Sita. And I made the point last week, and Panagandev also, Panajayadat also, quite, I shouldn't say quite a lot, but the majority of what we do, the sanskar that we follow, the format in this Brahm Viva type ceremony that we follow here in Trinidad and majority of India also takes pattern from what was done at the time of Sri Ram and Sita Ma. We could go on and on talking about the importance and the relevance of the wife and the Dulahin, but I want to make that very clear. It starts out by giving that, putting that prime place and position to the wife in Sanatan Dham. I hand over to Pandit Jaidat. I know he will want to come in at this point.
Thank you very much, both Pandit Gyaniva and Pandit Ishwar. And just again to emphasize some of the points that were made, Pandit Gyaniva mentioned that the point about the Yajurved speaking about the attitude of men, and married men should not look upon others. And again, if you were to take reference on Sri Ramacharamanas, when Sri Ram saw Sita Ma, that immediately he felt a connection and he felt that attraction. And he reflected upon himself and he said that, for himself and his lineage, it is not their way. It is not right for anyone to look upon the wife of someone else in this way. And he's saying that this has to be in his mind, he's rationalizing this, that this has to be some connection, something from, the past life, whatever term. I'm just paraphrasing. But what Sri Ram is saying is that when he looked upon Sita Ma, because he felt that, he knew that there was something special, because he's saying to himself that it is not the way of, the men of that lineage to look upon women, especially the wives of others, with any lustful eyes. So even the Lord, Sri Ram, as Pandit Gyani was saying, we have seen the same principle and this ethic being acted out by that Lord. And as we all know that Sri Ram, he represents, that ideal man, the principles that we are supposed to follow, the one that we are supposed to not idolize, but we are supposed to emulate in our lives, so that we are seeing that Lord living out the words and the ideas of those scriptures. The second thing, again, Pandit Gyanu mentioned that, scriptures say that when we perform karma within this Vivaha Sanskar, this Grihasti ashram, that we strengthen the body and the senses, and we give charity and all of those things when we perform vrat. So by performing yajna and vrat, we are cleansing those senses, we are strengthening the senses, strengthening the body when we inhale all of that samagri. We give charity, we give donation and all of that. And we tie that to the vrat. So that in the Grihasti ashram, scriptures are telling us that we are supposed to perform vrat, we are supposed to strengthen ourselves, but not alone. And as Pandit Ishwar pointed out, in the first vrat, it is said, the first condition, that whenever yajna is to be performed, that wife is asking that she participates, so that she herself, as part of that married couple, that they become strong together. Because marriage is not individuals living together. Marriage is about union, and that union is mutually beneficial, so that both parties benefit from the performance of yajna, sacrifice, puja, or tirat, all of these things. by inhaling that fragrance, strengthening the senses, strengthening the body by the performance of Vrat and Yagya. And in addition to that, as scriptures tell us, when Lord Brahma created the world, he created Yagya. And he said that through Yagya, everything is achieved. He said, when I created man, I created Yagya. And Yagya is sacrifice. And when we perform sacrifice, we perform Vrat, then we get everything. And we see that in so many instances. In the cases of the Rakshas, we see it in the Grihasti ashram of King Dashrath himself. We spoke about that he wished for children. And what did he do? That was his desire. That is what he wanted. And he performed Putrishi Yagya. And through the performance of Yagya with members of his family under the guidance of the Guru in that Grihasti ashram, he was able to get his 4 sons. And then, of course, so that is really the discussion until this point. But what I would like to bring up, and is one of the points we spoke about last week, and it's one of the social issues. And we wanted to get a little bit into this today so that both pundits will make their contribution. And we touched on it last week, which is really some of the ways that we are supposed to behave in ceremony. I know that Pandit Gyande spoke about the eating and the appropriate time for all of that, but he also spoke about some of the use of interdict items such as alcohol, things such as non-vegetarian food, sometimes the way that people dance and all of that, and all of those things. We know that that is not accepted in our way of life, but we see these things creeping in. Not only when there's a wedding at the house, but sometimes it happens in the yard of a temple or in the road of a temple. These are some of the negatives. So that we'd like to have the perspective of the pundits and 1 or 2 other points, but at this point we're going to take a break and we'll be back with you shortly.
Join us as we explore contemporary issues facing societies worldwide. Interviews and discussions featuring local and international experts. You can participate in our live call-in segments, a program of the board of SWAHA.
Join live every Tuesday evening at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and prime time at 7 p.m.
So welcome back, viewers, to the Hindu Perspective, and we are here with 2 of our very experienced pundits, Pandit Gyande, Pandit Ishwar, and we are discussing the Vivaha Sanskar. And at this point, we'd like to get the pundits' views on 2 issues that would have come up in discussions over the week. And the first one is the what we see now as a new social trend, if you want to call it that. Now, a trend doesn't mean a good thing, right? But it's a trend. It is something that is happening more and more, and it is happening more blatant from at least my experience or what I see, which is the use of alcohol or non-vegetarian food, lewd dancing, things that could be considered lascivious, taking place in wedding. And sometimes it is not only at the home of a person, but it happens in the compound of a temple. That's the first thing. And what I'd like the pundits also to comment on is, Swaha's approach, so that over the years, I know we have seen what is done in different places, and there has been an attempt to sanitize some aspects of the Hindu ceremony. So I know one in particular I'd like the pundits to comment on is, the use of songs, that I know that traditionally songs are sung and vulgar things are being sung about the pundits and the pundit's wife and all of those things. So, what has Swaha done about that, as well as to address the issue of the use of alcohol, etc., in temples, and what can we do as an organization to address these things? So I'll pass over maybe to Pandit Gyande first, then Pandit Ishwar.
Thank you, Panchayat. Now, I'll give you that point Panchayat made about the kind of songs they used to sing in weddings. Now, there is a positive and a negative. The positive is that people do not Hindi again. So they can't sing the song, they can't sound either. But negative is that these songs are made up as a strong form of joke and so on. You want to enjoy yourselves. But he said, do not enjoy yourselves at the expense of another person. So what happened is, old man long time who knew Hindi, they have this song, I think everybody know it, Bobanwa Ke Mooch. Like one of the more popular ones. The Pandit's mustache. It's like, and I can't say it on screen, on air, how it look like. And this lady will talk about it and giggle and laugh, and put it on your mouth and laugh. And then he'll talk about it on his wife. You sit down here doing wedding, go see where your wife been home. Those kind of things. So long ago, it's a habit. I think quite a few years now that has stopped because people do know these songs and people don't understand. So you can sing whatever they want. Nobody understands it, except person singing. So that has died, I think, an automatic death. But I'll give an experience I had when I was in Nepal, where we went at exact spot where Sri Ram and Sita got married. In Nepal, the temple is still there. A big temple, the Ram Sita Vivah temple. And there, they reenact, every year it's reenacted, but sometime it was November time. I can't remember the exact time, sometime in November. And what they will do, they'll have the same fun and games. So that wedding is to enjoy yourself. So it is the same song, like I remember some songs they sang, but 9 songs, it is based on insults, but it was nice. Like one of the songs said that Sri Ram was coming on a horse, but apparently the horse is better looking than the Dulaha. So that is kind of, don't mind songs insulting, but it's not bad. You do that kind of things, You throw what you call gali. Gali means insult, right? It's insulting. This is just joke and fun. So the boy side will throw it for girl side throw it for boy side. And that's just clean fun, as you call it. So that has crept into our wedding over the years. But then because of our people from what we call Bihar, and they had the Biharis kind of language and Biharis kind of songs, they brought in those kind of things from there. And those who know Bihar, if you know Bihar people, it's like if you watch Yeti singing today, how they behave the same way in Bihar. We don't say it's bad. It's an agriculture. So what we are saying, that should not be done. But the major point is there's kind of enjoyment in it. So in a wedding, there's enjoyment between the two sides. Nothing wrong with that, but keep it above it's like when we make a joke on somebody, don't make them cry. You make a joke, you can laugh and they can laugh. So this is what the wedding is supposed to be, those songs. But I said because of the fact that most people do not know Hindi again, that has died a peaceful death. Now the next point was made about alcohol. I don't know how it came about that Hindus stopped saying alcohol. Pretty simple. Alcohol has no place in religion. If you're a Hindu, you should not drink alcohol. And I'll mention that point because I was amazed. We're talking married act, and the ex-attorney general speaking about the some act about ganja and so on. And he said in some people in Trinidad, they use it in bhang. I don't know what movie he watched. Trinidad, nobody does that. Nobody uses bhang really for holy. There's nothing like that in it out. Our scriptures say, do not do anything, Krishna Bhagavan said clearly, that will impede your progress mentally or retard you. So there's no place for alcohol in Hinduism. We have to stop that. But it's a bad thing. In India it happened, Trinidad happened, all over the world happened. The Pandit has to insist. I had experiences with that. When we were Hardi, the Friday night. And when I step in the place, that is the first thing I saw. I call the people, I tell them, I can't do anything here. You have me on a bailey invoking devatas. The Hardi, the puja, where you invoke all the devatas and deities, and then you bless the Hardi and rub it on the child. And you have alcohol over my head. I'm not doing it. Get an exponent. If one wants to give up their religion and compromise, fine, but I'm not doing it. People beg and I will clear the place. Clear out all alcohol from the place. Move out everything and get all who are intoxicated out of the place. And then I'll invite my devotees to come here. So the Pandit has to insist. He has to insist to show respect for puja. Nobody in the right sense goes to a puja and carry alcohol. But what happened? People do not see the wedding. People do not see the Hardi as a puja. They see it as a bacchanal, a Brahm. So the Pandit have to explain to people. And this is why more and more people don't want to go, let it go. But you have to tell them, the Pandit must say the right thing. If you want me to do certain sanskar for you, and you want blessings, do what I say. So that is second point Pranjay raised. I'm not going to talk about that person, but Ishwarji Maharaj.
Thanks, Pandit. And certainly relevant points. And these are things that, Panditji mentioned about the types of songs, the traditional wedding songs, folk songs as they were, Viva Geet, whatever term we may use to call them. Majority may have been in Bhojpuri, some in a, like broken form of Awadhi and so on. But at the end of the day, as Panaji put it quite nicely, if you're cracking a joke or you're saying something to maybe just in jest, then out of fun and merriment, the mood, and you may get a little bit carried away. If you crack a joke, you laugh, but it brings grief or some ill feeling on the other side, then is not worthy of saying or singing. So if you crack a joke or you sing it something that's meant to be fun and for you to enjoy, the other side should enjoy also. The listeners and everyone else should participate and be happy with that. And if it is not palatable in that way, then of course it shouldn't be allowed at all. But as he said quite rightly, Panajayda Panagande, and to our viewers, a lot of this has been lost. But I want to make the point also, there are few within Swaha we have tried, and certainly at Swahindu College we try, for Swadeshi Panagande, right, Panajay, that with the folk songs to bring it back in, to make sure that people sing the right types of songs for these occasions. So you would have had individuals come in from time to time to assist us. There are certain, a few experts, and maybe at some time, maybe next Indian arrival, we can get some of these few remaining experts to come and talk about these folk songs. But there are few that do it the traditional way and the right way. But I want to say that at school, we are still trying to keep it alive. I know within the primary schools, a number of primary schools are trying to also keep it alive with the folk songs, but it is not something that is thriving too well, and it has to do with the fact that we have lost the language and that attraction is no longer there. But then the other point, as Panaji mentioned, with respect to food and drink and alcohol, tomorrow, sorry, on Thursday, we celebrate Krishna Janmashtami, right? Many places we are reading Bhagavad these days, and discussion on Sri Krishna Bhagwan and Bhagavatam is uppermost in the minds of many people. You remember the katha of Sri Krishna Bhagwan with the Yamal Arjun trees, moving with the when he was bound by Yashoda Mata and the okri, and he's going through with that, and he threw down two trees, and these trees, Nalkuber Manigriv, right? These two individuals who their own, um, lack of judgment, base behavior, low behavior, and very lewd behavior, drinking, intoxicated state. Of course, no shame, no clothing on. They would have embarrassed themselves and said harsh things to Narad Muni, and of course, they were cursed. So even our scriptures, you see what alcohol can do and the effects of it. And we could go on and on talking about alcoholism. That is not the point for today. But in our wedding ceremonies, we are seeing it all the time. Panaji spoke about the Hardi ceremony. It is something that many of our pundits and any true devotee, when you go and you see this happening, it must irritate you, it must offend you. And it is something that we have had to deal with, to be adamant that we are not going to do a ceremony and we are not going to proceed if that kind of base behavior and disrespect continues. So this is something we are feeling, from Swaha, and I know other Hindu groups, Sanatanist groups for sure, would be promoting, the righteous thinking and higher order thinking, and to leave behind some of those lower tendencies, I would say, the desire to consume alcohol for an important occasion. You break the spirituality, the purity of that occasion, where we are inviting the devatas to bless the dulaha or the dulahin. And then there are others who are polluting the environment and polluting the puja, damaging that which is being done. I think last week I mentioned sometimes it's so disrespectful. You see people coming up and they're swaying and they're staggering because it's as though they're intoxicated and they're drunk and they're taking part. Um, and sometimes they come to sign as witness. Imagine an intoxicated state and you sign in, you scratch up on the register. So these are some of the foolish things that have happened, and I'm saying it out of experience. I've witnessed it. So our people really need to wake up. I'm not saying you, the viewers, but it happens from time to time. Panagyan is quite right to refuse to want to do the ceremony until certain conditions are met. And then there's another one, apart from the alcoholism. Um, we know that it's difficult with respect to the serving of food, but this is one thing that it genuinely bothers me up to this point, especially for the Hardi ceremony. Sometimes the Hardi is being done and not too far away, food is being served. Why can't people just wait 45 minutes, an hour until the end of the Hardi, and then you partake of your food? Sometimes you're doing the puja and you're hearing all the commotion that's going on the side. because once food is being served, there's talk, there's discussion, there's fun and merriment of its own accompanying the bhojan. So I'm saying to our people again, to our viewers, how hard is it? We could understand if somebody, they may be diabetic or pre-diabetic or have some, pre-existing condition, they need to partake of something. Well, let them eat something. They can have something quietly on the side, but not to serve for the hundreds of people that will disturb and interrupt the puja and even the wedding ceremony as far as possible. Wedding, we can make the exception as long as they have proper, place set aside and proper decorum and so on. But as far as possible, if it can be done, I think this is something that we need to move towards. In many of our temples, we do this, Panajeda, Panagyandeo, the wedding ceremony, especially if it's a simpler, we may say a shortened form. Not that shortened means that it's any less effective. And then after following the ceremony, everyone is invited to go and partake of the food, the bhojan, so that when the puja and the wedding rituals are actually being performed, people pay attention, people take advantage of it. Something that is also, I find, very disrespectful, especially when the vows are being recited or the vows are being read and you want others to listen. Sometimes three and four times you have to ask people to quiet down, to settle down, because it's not in their nature. And why? Because they're drinking, they're liming, they're enjoying themselves. They don't want to hear a lecture and they don't want to hear about vows and conditions of bride and groom. So these are some of the things that need to change. And we are not saying you, the viewers, or devotees of Swaha, or any of our others who are looking on. The reality is we know what is expected and we are striving for the ideal. We want to improve and lift the level of our wedding ceremonies and lift the behavior of our people. And this is the whole point of the Hindu perspective. So let us, take these few points in mind, and I hope it doesn't offend anybody, but we are saying it for the betterment of all. Panajailat?
Thank you, Pandit Ishwar and Pandit Yanu. And, just my own comments. And, I have heard and read, from scriptures which says that what great men do, others follow. And I know that for Swaha, as an organization, we have attempted in many ways to try to bring some level of sanity and cleanliness to our weddings. In terms of insisting on standards, we have looked at the format and all of that. And I know that Pandit Ishwar, Pandit Gyandev, that, if we heard the ceremony on the Friday night, that the type of song that we have persons, and at one point in time, we had classes where some of these individuals would have been teaching the folk songs. And, for each part of the ceremony, they would sing the appropriate song about what is taking place, what the mother is doing, what the pandit is doing, what the bride or groom is doing, but not from the joke side, but, in terms of what the songs are doing is really describing what is taking place in the ceremony. And these things, have a nice effect. The tune in which it is sung, the vibration that is created, it is really something different. And that facilitates people sitting and paying attention. And of course, once you have competent pundits and the ceremony is done and people don't come too late, want to go for dirt and all of those things, then it becomes easier for someone to sit for 45 minutes and then go and eat and all of those things. As it relates to the celebration, I know that, as Pandit J said, yes, and I always say to people when we do wedding that there are two components. There's a spiritual part and then there's a festive part. The festivities come after. The religious part comes first. And we see some of these things reflected in Bollywood movies. I mean, there are some good ones. And as pundits were talking, the one that came to mind is Come Aapke Hai Kaun, if I'm getting the name right. And I know that, in that movie, there were some of the wedding games. One of them is where they were hiding the shoe. And I know the song is Juta Dilo, Paise Lilo. Give the shoe and, Paise Lilo, and then take the money. And I know in Trinidad, we also have this custom where we block the door and you have to pay and all of those things. And that is fun. And that comes after the ceremony, so that the wedding games and all of those things, they are clean and they come after the ceremony. And, as bad as Bollywood may be, there are some movies that reflect this type of um, clean atmosphere and family atmosphere and all of those things. So that, we are not saying Swaha that everything has to be by the book and so strict that there's no fun. Of course, a wedding ceremony is something to celebrate. That has to be celebrated. All we are saying is that the celebration comes at the right time. And secondly, that when we are celebrating, celebrate in the appropriate way. celebrate in a way that it is done. So that what we see sometimes is you go to a hurdy, when the hurdy is finished, the person just cordon off the baby area and then everything happens. So that, because sometimes as pundits, you attend a ceremony, not as a pundit, but maybe some family or friend or co-worker may invite you, and you really see things that are different and shock you. And, it says to us also as an organization that what we insist on as standard, while Pandit Ishwar said, it could come across very strict, but we need to know what is the right thing and do the right thing. That's the only way that we are going to improve ourselves and, of course, get the outcomes that we desire for ourselves as Hindus and, of course, for the Hindu community. So that at this time, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to look at some of the issues as it relates to the Hindu wedding.
Join us as we explore contemporary issues facing societies worldwide. Interviews and discussions featuring local and international experts. You can participate in our live call-in segments, a program of the board of SWAHA.
Join live every Tuesday evening at 4:30 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. and prime time at 7 p.m.
Welcome back, dear viewers, to the Hindu Perspective on ITV. So that we have had some very deep discussions on the Vivaha Sanskar, and this is our second week. We did say last week that there's a lot to speak about still, and we have seen that, and there's still more that we can speak about. And for this last segment of the program, we want to look at some of the realities that face us as society, and this is in Trinidad and Tobago, maybe the same case globally. Because we are finding that, in terms of trends, that trends are the same across the world now. So, there's a more homogeneous culture in the sense that what we see in the United States, we see in Trinidad, we may see in Guyana, we may see in the UK. So that what are some of the trends that we notice? And these things are adopted by us locally. Now, we notice that the younger ones, the new generation, they are completely different from who we are. So what we are saying, Pandit Gyandev and Pandit Ishwar, is that we try to follow what is traditional, what scriptures would have taught us. Pandit Ji is quoting from Yajud Ved. Pandit Ishwar speaking about, these sanskar and these paditi that have been given to us that we are supposed to follow, what is the ideal. But the reality is that we are dealing with a different generation. And both these pandits can speak to that because both of them, one is a past principle, one is a current principle. They have dealt with children, and we all deal with children still, but they are in the heart of it. So that's one issue. The second thing is that at this point, persons are getting married later on in life. So it is not in the days of Sita Devi where, she would have had a swayamvar and would have a collection of suitable persons, and then she will go and choose among the suitable ones which is the best, or which one she'd like to select. And that, life is about, going and living in a home. It is not like that again. We are finding that persons have careers now, and that the younger ones, youths, male and female, that they are postponing the Grihas ashram. They are saying that, look, let me finish studying. Let me have some, let me build a career for myself. The average age of marriage is increasing. So that's another social reality that we are dealing with. And the third one, which is something we have to talk about, is that there's divorce. So that persons who are divorced would want to get married. And there's also persons who are divorced with children. And the question is always asked, Pandit, what do I do? And if the question is not asked, then there's always the talk. Well, Pandit, that person divorced, they have children. How could they do a normal marriage? How could you marry them in the same way? And there's a lot of criticism and, negative sentiments and all of that. So that those three issues, the new generation, the youths who may have a different mindset from the traditional mindset, the issues of people getting married at a later point in life. So as expecting that they be celibate until they're well in their 30s. And then the idea of divorce and being divorced with children. How does the format of marriage, how do pundits deal with those realities? Because I'm sure that you as pundits will deal with that. I know these are hard questions, But these are the type of questions that our viewers would like to get the answers to. So I don't know, maybe Pandit Gyani will pass on to you, and then Pandit Ishwar.
Thank you, Panaji. I will first of all, modern trends. This is my personal view. This is not Swaha's view. I do not subscribe to the fact or to the happenings of having two weddings. You have people, a boy going to marry a girl, or a girl going to marry a boy, one is Hindu, one is non-Hindu. I'm going to marry a Hindu, and then you have the next wedding by next boy, next side. I tell you, if you're doing that, don't come at me. You're making a puppy show of my religion. If I marry you in Hinduism, well, stick to that now. You want to go on honeymoon, go. You want to enjoy yourself and have a party afterwards with non-alcoholic drinks, go ahead. But every time you do a next wedding, so you have a Hindu wedding, and then you have a next wedding with other religion. That is a no-no for me as I'm concerned. It is like, it is very useless. It undermines my religion, or what I believe in, and make it what you have done as useless and wasteful. So having two weddings, you have a Hindu wedding, and the boy is not a Hindu Baba, so we have a nice kind of wedding. Don't come at me. I do not subscribe to that. It is because if you're getting married to somebody in Hinduism, you have to be a Hindu, as you said. If you marry that, they conform to Hinduism and practice Hinduism. So that's the first thing. No two weddings, one wedding. Is a Hindu wedding, is a Hindu wedding. And that done. You don't have other forms, you don't have a reception, go ahead now, man. But don't want to have two weddings and do it again and take vows again. It's become a puppy show. The next one getting married later in life. That is just a matter of time, place, and circumstance. But if you get married later in life, it means you have wasted your youth. Because what happened in the student stage, from O level to A level degree, you have got, man, the PhD. I know people finish PhD by 25, 26, and get a job. So the time you need to be 25, 26, then you want to get married. It means you have wasted your life. But so be it. What time you get married, get married. It's a social issue, and one of what you call how things happen in life, realities. When you are getting married at 35 and 40, and you are 60, how old your child is? 15, 20? You're old man, you can't be children. This is why we said marriage earlier, around 25, 30 is good. That is recommended because of the implications of old age and children. And talking about children, Krishna Janmashtami is coming up. And I want to make a fact, and make a big point and mention. Krishna Bhagwan was born in a jail. Krishna lived with step-parents, so that nobody can come and say anything about the child and have the right home, and all that different topics over another time. That because all scriptures tell us, however the child is brought up, so the child become. And that brings us to the next point about divorce. There's no Hindu Divorce Act. So if you're married and you want to separate, you separate, but you are still married to your first wife, according to Hinduism. It just means that you're married now to the next woman again. So you do all things as usual, you're wedding. Why deprive of the girl of something or the boy of something which is rightfully theirs in terms of wedding? So as far as I'm concerned, our scriptures have it. Many men have married many women. Many women have married one man. One man has married 3-4 women. In scriptures have it. All our weddings. So weddings are there. And I said in the last program, Kanya Dan doesn't mean maiden. Kanya means girl over the years. It has changed. Like now when you tell somebody, are you gay? They don't mean you're happy. It means something else. Nowadays, when you tell a man, boy, that thing was real bad. Bad doesn't mean bad, it means good. So language changes. So when you say Kanya Dan, long ago, now it just means governor of the maiden. It doesn't literally mean that. So marrying, in my opinion, if a boy has to marry a second time, a girl has married a second time, do a wedding as a wedding is normally done. The pandit uses discretion and do everything. Sindur Dan, Kanya Dan means, as this case, gift now of the maiden. Whosoever give any girl, Mangal Sutra, ring, Sindur Dan, everything. So in my opinion, everything done the same way. There is no difference. It is just another wedding. You do not deprive anybody who supposed to go through the steps in a wedding because of the fact that something happened in the past. That's a reality. We can't get away from that. So who separate? We have some separation. It's better separate and live together and chop up and shoot one another. The better they can't make it, all right, go away. Next one here, you read the news. so kill somebody, so kill your husband, so kill your wife. It happened too many times. So we are saying, if you can't make it together, seek counseling, try to make it. But you'll be the first one, I will be the last one. Because if you can't make it together, marriage is a meeting of the minds. If the minds can't come together, then the bodies can't come together neither. So separation is there, and if you want to remarry, do not put any hindrance anywhere. I know many pundits, for them, they're begging, oh, you're married already? Well, let me see what I could do. Those pundits are quacks, in my opinion, no matter which name you call. I know of a fact, some people, big name, wait, married already? So let's see what happened here now. We have to check the book and see. The book cannot know that. There's a wedding. We're going to a wedding again. As I said, I mentioned, Draupadi had 5 husbands. Draupadi had 5 husbands. Ram's father just had 3 wives. Each one wedding was done. So in this day and age, let us do what is required to be done and do not be judgmental. Some of us take a high standard. Because I didn't get divorced, you getting divorced? Oh my God, that is so sad. That is not dharmic. Forget them. Go on the point of dharma. So I'll pass on to Panishwar, who will expand more on those things. Panishji.
Thank you, Panaji. So Panaji mentioning in terms of tradition and some of the traditions that we see being left behind, or almost cast aside by some of those of the younger generation. And I have to say, younger generation, we ourselves, we are moving to another generation now, and a lot of the things that we have taken for granted, people question. Same Panaji mentioned about divorce, and I want to make the point, not to cut across or undermine what Panaganda is saying, but just understand every individual, even the pundits here, may have slightly different opinions. And this is a Hindu perspective, and there may be different perspectives, right? But we try to bring everything together. So this is not necessarily the only viewpoint of Swaha, right? So we are speaking for ourselves as 3 individual pundits of the Dharmandal, but it may not necessarily be the Swaha viewpoint. In fact, there's another program called the Swaha viewpoint. So I want to make that abundantly clear also as a disclaimer for all of our pundits here. And I agree with Pandit Gyandeo. We are seeing so many people moving away from tradition and feeling that tradition, the word tradition alone means that you're backward. But a simple thing, getting married at an earlier age, and when I say earlier, in your 20s rather than 30s or early 40s, what is traditional or backward about that? So get your education. You may start to work, let's say it's 25, 26, 28, 30 even, and you get married, but more and more, and it's happening, parents will call and they'll say, Guruji, Panditji, talk to your chela, talk to my son, talk to my daughter, they don't want to be married, they're only studying work, work, work. Then they want to build house, they want to do their masters, they want to finish their PhD, and it's a big problem. And who is suffering? They are moving on, and they are waiting for that right moment, not the right person necessarily, they're waiting for the right time. Mother and father worried about them. Okay, when is my son going to be married? He's 35 already, approaching 40 already. And I agree totally with Panagandeo. What will happen? You get married at 35, at 40, you'll be in your 60s, and your children could even be in primary school still. It is difficult for you. Think about what you may be doing. You may be long gone, and your children are now going through college and university, in terms of the age difference. And then also there's a biological clock too. So what we are saying has to be in accordance with science also. So our own biology tells us that we peak at certain times, both the man and the woman, Dulaha and Dulhin. So understand that. And we have our children who are very educated, and this education should not make you think that tradition and what the elder ones would do is backward. Understand that what they are telling you and what the pundit may be advising you to do too is for your own welfare. So what is wrong with 2 individuals with masters getting married, or with your first degree get married? Yes, and both of you do your masters and PhD together and live happily ever after. So do not wait until it is too late, I'm saying. And we are seeing it quite often, well into the 30s and 40s, and you're looking, and there's frustration, there's doubt. It is a lot of hardship. So understand that. So certain, a lot of things, traditional way is the best way. So take the advice of the elders and from our pundits here. And when it comes to the other point, I think I can emerge too. But with divorce, really, as Pandit Gandhi mentioned, yes, Raja Dasrat had three wives. A wedding would have been done. So, as his opinion and as he's saying it, yes, you can do your Viva Sanskar. So, Viva Sanskar has to be done. It cannot be simply where, you're denying certain rights to the bride and groom. Whatever, rationale or is agreed upon by a guru, whether it's Pandit Gandhi, myself, Pandit Jaidat, or Parmachar, whoever the Pandit may be, that Pandit will use his discretion and the scriptures and Viva Sanskar Paditi and come up with the best format to please everyone, and not just please everyone, but in particular to ensure that the sanctity of the Viva Sanskar is maintained. So that's important. People should not be chastised and condemned for that, because the reality is, there are certain situations where we cannot condone a woman facing serious abuse, or the husband even facing abuse. Recently there's a movie that is quite popular. I can't recall the name now. um, a popular star also is acting in that movie, where they show on the opposite side, the wife, after taking so much abuse, turned it around and began abusing the husband. In such a relationship, no, it is best to just move on, part ways. So, devotees and viewers, we are saying Sanatan Dharma allows for one to move on, carry on their life in the way that they see fit, but always consult with the elders, consult with parents, consult with your guruji, with your pandit. This is most important. Panajayda.
Thank you very much to both pundits. And we only have 3 minutes remaining. And of course, just to put one caveat, right? If you are separating, as Panditji is saying, yes, from the spiritual side, you can get married again. And you'll have multiple wives on the spiritual side. But of course, ensure that once you would have signed a legal form, that you're going to get married a second time without getting legally divorced. You have to get legally divorced. So that's just putting that there for clarity, all right, so that you don't get in trouble and land up in jail and all of that. And in the 1 or 2 minutes we have remaining, and maybe we can start over this next program, and we can move on to another topic. The issue of what is considered arranged marriage and Hinduism, and Hindus have taken a lot of flack for that. But what is arranged marriage, and what others perceive that as, which is you take someone and force them to be in a life with someone, is not what is prescribed by scriptures. And just very briefly, the Swayamvar ceremony of Sita Devi. Now, Sita, she had choice, and she was allowed to choose, but within a parameter, so that everyone who was invited there was a suitable person. And this is the way of Hinduism. We say there's choice, but of course you choose within reason, and you choose within the parameters of that which is best for your family, for yourself, and your future. And therefore, just choosing someone. You can't be a Hindu going to the temple and you're choosing someone who's selling drugs. That just wouldn't work out for you in any way beneficial. So that we can focus more on that topic. So that we are coming to the end of the program. We probably have 2 minutes again. So any closing comments by both of the panelists, maybe a minute each, and then we wrap up.
Let me just say that we'll discuss going on the road, an important aspect. We live in a multiracial, multicultural society or interracial marriage. Next program, or following program, will deal with that from the spiritual point of view, from the Gita point of view. I'll just erase that, and we'll discuss that later on, interracial marriages.
Panit, Ishwar?
Devotees and viewers, I just want to wish everyone a wonderful Krishna Janmashtami on Thursday. So do go out to your temples. Most of our temples, certainly the centers of Swaha, have beautiful Krishna Janmashtami celebrations planned. Enjoy the evening, worship Bhagwan Krishna, and see the benefits to you and your family. Sitaram.
Sitaram.